And this is where people are most likely to go, God, I'm not spending the time doing this. This is such a waste of time. And then they complain next year that they didn't achieve their goals, or that they've not moved towards their dreams, or that woe is me because they've made no progress. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a little bit different because we're talking about one of my favorite things today, and I need to deep dive into it because it seems like some of you guys maybe struggle with this. So for our premium members, you're going to have the long form uncut version of this, as I actually set my own goals and schedule them in because that's how I've always achieved them. But for YouTube, we're going to do a top level version, and don't panic because you also have something that you can download if you're just a YouTube viewer. So to grab the goal setting help sheet, go ahead and hit the link down in the description and also linked above, because you can follow along with me and do this kind of at the same time, which is always a win-win. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon, because those two things will help you to basically find our content in the future. We do talk about photography here, and that is what we do, but there are also sometimes useful other things that you might enjoy. So feel free if you don't have any interest in photography either, which is kind of weird. So why do I get so hyped up about goal setting? And I think we should start there. So if you don't know me, then I am Jessica McGovern, international multi-award winning portrait photographer. I'm known for my work mainly with dogs, but also with other things as well. And the reason why a lot of people ask me about goal setting a lot of the time, and the reason why we do this every year, is because I have never not met a goal, ever. I have a 100% goal setting and achieving rate when I follow this formula. So I want to share that with you guys, because I think that if we all improve and all focus on our goals and all reach our goals that we have set for ourselves, then we not only make ourselves feel like we have achieved something, but we also push ourselves forward towards success and towards growth. So that's why I'm sat here doing this. To give you an example, one of the goals that I set myself was to build a photography studio, and not just rent one, actually build one. And we sat in that right now whilst we're recording this video. So welcome to my photography studio, which was one of my goals, and it was achieved. Every single goal I've ever set, I have always reached it. Sometimes we have to adjust the goals to suit natural disasters, pandemics, and so on and so forth. That's fine. As long as you can reschedule your aims, then you will be able to meet that eventual goal that you set for yourself. So it doesn't really matter how big your goal is. Your goal could be to earn £1 million. Your goal could be to create and run a 6-figure business. That is something that I'm sat doing right now. So I have 2 6-figure businesses, and I am 28 years old, just to give you a reference on the age, because it seems important for some people. So what I want to do is go through my process in the little steps that we have. The premium members, you guys will be able to follow along the entire thing with me. For YouTube, we'll take out the top keyline steps to make sure you still have them, but you just won't have all of my workings for my own goals behind the scenes. So the first thing that we need to do is identify what a goal is and what a dream is, so that you are clear about what the differences are between those two. So a dream is something that is likely to be unachievable or difficult to achieve. A goal is something that is actually achievable, and achievable within a reasonably small frame of time, which we'll get onto in a second. So that's my definitions, which is important. The second thing that is key to this process is setting what's called a SMART goal. But one thing that I will say is that a SMART goal is nowhere near enough. A SMART goal is like the starting seed, but to achieve your actual goal, that's just not going to do it. And that's why the future steps on this process are really important, to change that SMART goal into something that you are working towards and actually achieve at the end of your time frame. So SMART goals are essentially made up of the letters of SMART, right? So these are our letters that we're going to be working for a SMART goal. Now, if you already know how to set a SMART goal, then technically you can skip this step. But if you don't know how to set a SMART goal, then this is the point where you really need to focus, because this might be where you have been going wrong in the past. Okay, so S is specific. So for example, if we were specific, let's say we wanted to start a pet photography business. Ignore my handwriting, left-handed, give me a break. So the pet part makes it a little bit more specific, right? So we've got a pet photography business there, great, that's a tick. We need it to be measurable. So let's say that, and we'll make it for the US audience here. Let's say that we wanted to earn 30K again, handwriting, give me a break. We wanted to earn 30K. Technically, I would also want you to drill down into that and tell me if that was gross or net in terms of the business metrics that we're using here. But regardless, 30K, we'll keep it at that for now. So we've got a tick. A is achievable. What we need to do is we need to reference what we've just said and measure, is that going to be achievable for us? If we don't know how to use a camera, then that's not achievable. In my opinion, personally. It could be, but you'd be pushing it, depending on what we get to in a second. So we need to check whether this is achievable. And this gap here is what I usually leave until right at the end, because then we can make sure it is achievable. Then we have R, okay? So R is realistic. So achievable and realistic are different things. Sometimes something can seem achievable, but actually it's unrealistic to expect that to come to fruition. For example, if I wanted to run or start a pet photography business with income of $30,000, in this case, US dollars, and I needed to make sure that that was realistic, I need to be able to assess the situation and say, is there enough pets in my local area? Is there enough people with pets in my local area who have disposable income to be able to afford this? Is this realistic or is it not? Now, if it is, great, we can continue. If it's not realistic, you need to probably look at either changing some of the variables that are going into this goal, or you need to change your situation that you're in. So then we get to T, okay? When we get to T, it means that we're getting cooking here and we're getting some bits and pieces together. T is time bound or time managed, or essentially time in simple terms. So if we have T, what we need to do is we need to put a time limit on it. So we've made this goal up as we're going through, and T helps to make achievable happen. Because if you don't even know how to use a camera, then saying that your goal is to run a pet photography business and earn $30,000 in 6 months is unrealistic and unachievable, in my personal opinion, okay? That's just my thoughts. I've been doing this for over a decade, and that would be my opinion on that. However, if you change that 6 months to be 5 years, now we're looking at something that we can work with here. Now we're looking at a goal that is actually achievable and is actually realistic, depending on the other variables in question. So your time section is really, really important. And this is what a lot of people either overestimate or underestimate, or they overestimate and then they forget about the goal and they don't do any of the next steps that we're going to go into. So your goal must be SMART. It must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. All of them need to be ticked. So it's really important when we get to this point, though, that everybody, if you're going to do this, everybody must be in a positive frame of mind. You can't really do this successfully if you're in a negative frame of mind. And everybody goes into those, some more than others. You guys know my backstory, my own mental health situation and everything that I've been through in my life. So you know that I will have down days and good days, and you have to do this in a good day. You can't do this in a down day. It's like not going to work. So make sure you have a positive mental outlook, a positive frame of mind before you jump into this. So if you're not there today and today is not the day to be doing this, that's fine. Just pause this video, save it for later, and come back to it when you are, okay? Because I promise you will be. So we have our goal. Now, with the premium members, I ran through some options for my personal goals for the next year. I've removed my professional goals from this sheet because I don't want to share them with the world right now, but I will do when they're done. So I've got a goal on the screen right now, which is to place at a BD competition by December 31st, 2023. This might be the first goal that I don't achieve, but I'm not going to go into it with that mental attitude. I'm going to go into it as though this is 100% achievable and realistic. So this is a goal that relates to my horse, Tuna. So I have a horse called Tuna. She's called Fortune in Spanish. And Tuna is a Spanish horse who's quite young, and we've only competed like a few times, unaffiliated. We've not done anything proper. So I know that if I went and tried to achieve this goal today, it's not going to happen, which to me is a really good level to set a goal at. Have you done it now? No. Okay, we can make it a little bit difficult. If this was to place at the Olympics by December 31st, 2023, then that's a ridiculous goal. That is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. So you have to fall within those parameters. So we have this goal, and it is to place at a British dressage competition by the end of next year. So I'm doing this now in December of 2022. This gives me an entire year to be able to get to that level. So now what? This is where most people stop and they go, do you know what? I'm going to have a cup of tea because I'm done now and I need to do no more work. You're wrong. Because that is not how successful people set and achieve their goals. It's just not. Writing it down is part 1. All of the rest of it is part 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? So the next thing that we need to do is take that goal that we just set, and you can set whatever goal you want to set. I don't mind. It can be genuinely whatever you want it to be. And what we need to do is break it down into little bits, because at the moment we're at A, B is the goal, and there is a gulf between the two, right? There is a big distance to travel, and that distance is far too large, because more often than not, it's actually going to look like this. A is down here. This is a mountainside with rocks and cliff faces on, and B is up there. That is a monumental task, and most people fail because they don't see how many steps are actually involved, and they see it as a too big a leap to be able to get to the end goal. And so this is what we're going to fix right now. So what I want you to do is think about your goal, and everybody's goal is going to be different here. And what I want you to do is I want you to break down this journey from A, where we are now, to B, the end goal, into smaller steps, okay? So I like to do it into 4. So essentially you cut the journey into 4 steps. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? I like to do 4, but you can do as many as you want to do. So from A to Basecamp, this is going to be called Basecamp 1. So we've got BC1. Basecamp 1, climbing up this mountain, okay? This needs to be something that is realistically achievable within 12 weeks or less. And 12 weeks is a really important number. So 12 weeks is 3 months. I'm wanting probably something a little bit less than that. So for me right now, I got on Tuna again for the first time in 3 months, like last week, and I have not got on since. So I'm literally not even able to do anything on the horse, and I'm wanting to go and compete at BD. So we've got a huge long road to go, and she's just coming through recovery. That goal for me would probably be to be doing, I don't know, walk, trot, and canter at a reasonably basic level with good fitness. So I'm making a mini SMART goal. This is important. A mini SMART goal for Basecamp 1, okay? Then we have Basecamp 2. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of being stood on top of Basecamp 1. So we've achieved this level here now. Then what would we want to achieve, or what would we expect, is realistic and time-bound, as well as being specific, to be able to achieve at Basecamp 2. So Basecamp 2 is essentially half of a year away, based on my timeline of 12-week steps, than where we are now. So I would be hoping to be doing some novice level work with her, which is higher level than what I'm wanting to be competing at home. And I'm also going to probably want to be going maybe to 1 or 2 unaffiliated shows at this level. Okay, so then I'm thinking, okay, what's a Basecamp 3? So Basecamp 3 is our last step. So what I want to be doing here is I want to be doing like baby steps of the goal. So if the goal for me was to compete, oh no, hang on, wait, it was to place at British Dressage, I'm going to want to be going to competitions by Basecamp 3. Even if we don't go in the arena, even if we don't place, even if I don't get a ribbon, even whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that we want to be starting to go to these events and occasions by Basecamp 3 so that she can be acclimatized, I can be acclimatized, and we can prepare to then go out with a view to win something. So Basecamp 3, I'm going to want to be doing BD. I'm going to want to be working her at home at a certain level. I'm not going to bore you on the levels that we would be working at here. So then Basecamp 4 is essentially the goal, that you've reached the top of the mountain, but breaking it down into these baby steps here, and over here actually makes it far more achievable, and mentally makes this so much easier to work through. So take your big goal, whatever time frame you have. I like yearly goals with 12-week steps. It just keeps things nice and simple in my brain. But then you're going to go ahead and you're going to map that to the little workbook so that you know your mini SMART goals, and they all need to be SMART all the way through. Okay, so you will need to go ahead and do that now, and then we'll come back for the next step, which is probably the single most important part of everything in its entirety. Okay, so the next step involves actually scheduling these things into your diary in a way that's achievable, and that can be a little bit complicated. Everybody will do this in a different way, and I'm aware of that. You might want to use a notepad and paper, you might want to use a physical diary, you might want to use an online diary, you might want to use an Excel spreadsheet, you might want to use one of the scheduling tools that are available. It does not matter. The point is you must, and I mean it, must schedule these things into your diary. There is no alternative option here. Now, I have, in my goal, got 3 base camps, which are 12 weeks apart. And then from the final base camp, there's 12 weeks until the end of my goal time frame. So I must have achieved my goal within that frame of time. Okay, that is my general focus, which means I technically have 12 weeks of sub-steps that I can actually make actions for to make sure I can achieve my end goal, which seems like a little bit OTT. Trust me, it's not. Those weeks will fly by. I don't even remember what happened last week. So how am I going to make sure that I've done everything I need to achieve my goals if I've not done that? So you have to be thinking about this on the long term. So what I want you to do now is pause, go back to look at your base camps, and I want you to put in some sub steps. If 12 is a bit overwhelming and your brain can't deal with it, go for 6. So 6 sub steps. If you have a 6 monthly goal, then 3 sub steps is fine. So what I'm essentially looking for in this situation is that for every 2-week period out of the year, there needs to have been some action, movement, positive movement that's measurable towards my goal. And this is where people are most likely to go, God, I'm not spending the time doing this. This is such a waste of time. And then they complain next year that they didn't achieve their goals, or that they've not moved towards their dreams, or that woe is me because they've made no progress. And it's like, yeah, no shit, because you didn't put the time in to make sure that this was actually going to be achievable. And then people look at me and they're like, Jess, how do you achieve so much? You're so lucky. No, I'm not. It's because I sit here every December and I schedule out an entire year worth of tasks to be able to achieve my goals. And I'm really passionate about this because it frustrates me that so many people have goals and dreams that they never achieve purely because they can't be asked to do this work. And yeah, it's going to be tough. Yes, it's going to get tricky. Yes, some days and some weeks you're going to think it's all gone wrong and you're never going to make it. Yeah, that's life. Okay, it's never going to be easy. But by doing this, you will get yourself right back on track and you'll carry on and you'll achieve it. I'll almost promise it, but only if you put in the work, because otherwise I can't promise anything. Okay, so premium members, guys, we're gonna just delve back into our little private zone because we're gonna work through this. But if you are on YouTube, please go ahead and do your sub steps. Okay, and if you think I'm an asshole, watch me when I hold you accountable to achieve your own goals. Okay. So when you have those mini sub-steps kind of sectioned out, you need to work out your time allocation that you need for both, and then you need to go ahead and get your diary. So I broke mine down into 12-week blocks, but each one was 2 weeks, so I have 6 steps between each of my goals. So mine starts on January the 2nd, okay? That's when I'm starting my scheduling, and I know that each of these subtasks is gonna take 3 hours, and I need to do it 3 times a week to be able to achieve that goal. So every sub-step, so for example, week 2 for mine is walk calmly with some lateral responsivity. Ignore the whole concept of this. I just need to make sure that my own goals are smart, so hence why I'm doing this at the same time. And so I know that 2 weeks after Monday the 2nd, I need to have achieved that. And so to have achieved that, I need to be able to schedule in the time to do the work to do that thing, okay? So mine are 3 hours, 3 times a week. I know my days and how my days fall. I can't predict the weather, which for me is a big extraneous factor because the only place I can train is outside. If it's frozen, I can't ride. If it's torrential rain and there's named storms and like hurricane force winds, then I can't ride. So I'm limited by that. You might be limited by, for example, when you can get an assistant, or when you can get a makeup artist, or when you can get time off work. All of these things come into it, and you need to be able to schedule kind of around them and probably make a little bit of contingency plans. If I go and put in my normal riding schedule, I'm gonna have 6 till 9. Probably put what I want to do. So I'll do. week 2 walk laterals. I'm going to copy that, I'm going to paste it there, and I'm going to paste it there. So I'll start mine at 6 a.m. and I'll make sure that I can achieve those goals. So then I'm going to do the same thing again. By the time that I get to 2 weeks, and I did mention to the premium members, we're not just going to be working on these things, but this gives me what I'm actually working towards. Then I can move into my second set, because now we're already in week 4. So I know that my next step are walk, trot, leg yields on a circle. So I'm going to do week 4. Walk, trot, leg yields on a circle, right? So it literally just works like this for all of your goals. And you just go through and you bang them in your diary when you're actually going to do them, and then you actually do them. And there is only one excuse for not reaching your goals that genuinely is valid: that someone's injured, there's an injury, or it's dangerous. That's it. Or someone dies. Those are kind of like my hardline limits on it. I mean, a pandemic would probably also count, to be fair, for most things, and natural disasters, wars, etc. All of those things, conflicts and stuff, all of it comes into things that we can't really plan for. But what do we do if we cannot meet our goals because one of those things happen? What do we do? Because we're going to fail to meet them. We're not going to be able to do the steps that we need to do to be able to achieve the goal. So what we can do in that situation is put into place some form of a reformulation of the goal. So we can either move the time frame to make the time frame longer, which is one option. We can make it easier to achieve or make something simpler, or we can just put the goal on ice. I don't really like putting the goal on ice. That would involve basically just parking it, and we'll revisit it when this situation is past. In the case of things like injuries and illness, that is usually what needs to happen. But simplification of the goal, or adjusting it to make it more realistic and more achievable, is something that I genuinely would recommend, because that would mean that you're at least able to feel the feeling that you've achieved that goal, right? So that feeling that you've done it is amazing, because it gives you a feeling of mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And those 3 things, autonomy, mastery, and purpose, are some of the biggest things in terms of gaining a feeling of fulfillment and general positivity and happiness in your life. So anything that you can do to achieve those 3 things is important. And doing these steps will achieve those 3 things, so you will feel that way. If that makes sense. By putting this into practice, you should be able to achieve your goals, and you have time now to do this. Put it into place, put it in your diary, put it in your schedule, and do the work to be able to achieve your goals in 2023 and beyond. So if this video is helpful for you, please do let me know. Put it down in the comments on YouTube. Hit the like button, because it really does help. And the premium members, you guys, what I want you to do is I want you to work through the steps, watch this over and over again if you need to, and ask me for help, because I'll make extra little sub videos to assist as we go along. If you're finding it a little bit difficult to schedule your own goals in, make sure that they're smart, and so on and so forth. So we can look at that for sure as an additional supporting thing. But I want everybody to achieve their goals this year. If you can, try really hard. Make sure that you do the work. That's the main thing, is just to schedule it and do it. If you schedule it and don't do it, then you're never going to be able to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my scheduling now. I'll see you guys next week for another video, and I hope that you're safe and well.